Ladies and gentlemen, our next conversation is with John Olajide, President and CEO of Axxess, a self-funded unicorn, moderated by Emily Choi, Director of Innovation and Entrepreneurship at the University of Texas at Dallas. Please welcome John Olajide and Dr. Emily Choi.
All right. Hello.
Hey, Emily, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Wonderful. Hey, people.
So, John, you're the founder and CEO of Axxess,
Yep.
founded in 2007. And it's a home healthcare technology company,
That's what I was told.
currently headquartered in Dallas, currently employing 1,000, you corrected me backstage, 1,000 employees now, representing 50 countries and serving over 3 million patients.
That's right.
That's amazing. Tell us a little bit about what is home healthcare technology? Like, what kind
Thank
of
you, Emily. First of all, I want to say we believe at Axxess that the future of healthcare is in the home.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to explain that. And the reason is simple. I think healthcare has shaped the evolution, technology has shaped the evolution of healthcare in ways people don't even realize. If you think about it, in the past, the way healthcare was delivered, it was a healthcare professional with a bag, and all the technology they had, it was in a bag as they went to go see patients in their homes. And as more and more technology got into the delivery of healthcare, there was a need to build hospital systems and have all the diagnostic equipment and then place patients as close to the diagnostic equipment as possible. So really, hospitals as we know it are a more recent phenomenon in human evolution. So it's important to really explain that and say healthcare has always been delivered in the home for a long time. So what Axxess does is provide the technology to empower the delivery of the highest quality care at home, and home is wherever people call home, wherever that is.
All right. Now, I wanted to ask maybe later on, but I heard the announcement about your company has been bootstrapped all the way to unicorn status.
That's right.
Explain that. Let's get that label out of the way and explain how.
Great question. Look, I don't advise that anyone does the same thing, because in my case, no one was going to give me any money. That's why. I had to push up the darn thing. I'm kidding. Well, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine earlier walking up, and she said, John, I didn't know you were a unicorn. I said, I am offended that you said that. We've been friends for a long time, and as far as I'm concerned, unicorn is someone that's super tall, dark, and handsome. So that's how I think about it. But more seriously, yes, we've built our business in a very capital efficient manner, and we're proud of it. And there are lots of paths to how you can build sizable organizations, and it's important to share all the ways to do it and tell that story. I'm really excited about being in Dallas and really proud of the venture community here, and want to make sure we can share all the ways to build incredibly viable companies. And an important part of that story is when you're self-funded, when you're bootstrapped, you're really keenly connected to what the market wants, right? So you can't just burn through cash because you have easy access to it. So you want to make sure, all of you here understand product market fit. You want to make sure there's a tight product market fit and that you can scale that. So once you get there, you want to keep repeating that. So we listen to our customers very closely to understand exactly what their needs are. And then as we scaled the company, really the best financial partner is your client or your customer. So there were times in our evolution where we said, look, we need additional resources to invest in the business, and we'll go to our customers and say, hey, pay us for 5 years in advance and we'll give you a 10% discount, right? And they thought that was a great idea. Now, if they paid you 5 years in advance, you all understand churn and losing customers. You're not going to churn that customer, right? They invested in your success. They'll give you even more ideas on product, and then they'll tell other people about you. So that's really how we've done it.
Mm-hmm. So you've had a very unique path. Typically, founders, we all know we need help from friends. One is venture capital. So you did bootstrap past the venture capital. At one point, though, you did consider taking venture capital money. What changed your mind?
No, great question. one of the beauties about this society is that as you're starting to have some success, somehow people know that. There's data around that, you know. So as we start at the scale, you start getting a ton of emails from a lot of my friends in the audience here saying, hey, John, you're doing this. Let's talk to you about how we can accelerate the growth, and you listen to that. And I think an important ingredient for success as an entrepreneur is that you should listen to people. So we wanted to listen to how others thought we could scale companies and, you know, entertain some conversations. But very quickly we realized, look, I think about problems and solutions in terms of decades. I'm thinking big things, long term. And as we had conversations with lots of investors, just the way the capital is raised and all the financing structures, they're thinking 3 to 5 year terms, you know, get in, do some magic and exit. And we quickly realized this doesn't align with what we're trying to do as an organization. We're solving things for the long haul. We're in for the long haul. And beyond just trying to juice a company up and exit, we're trying to build an organization that lasts. We're trying to build real value here that people are paying for. So we saw a vision, you know, candidly, from day one, I knew we're going to build a multi-billion-dollar company. I think it's important to say that. I knew that. And it was just a matter of time. And if you're patient and you execute and you do the right things over a long time, that happens. So we realized there wasn't an alignment in how we're thinking about how long we wanted to invest in making things happen. And, you know, I'll tell you a funny story. As part of that process, I remember, let's tell stories so you really get the backstory, right? I remember, you know, one of the conversations we were having with one of the folks, and, you know, as they're doing all the details and the terms, I learned a lot. You learn a lot of things. And I know there was a time when some of the document they had, hey, if you want to spend over $25,000, you know, you need approval to do this and this and this and that. I said, I have managers in my organization that spend $25,000 and they don't need my approval, you know. Damn, I'm the founder of the company. You know, what is this guy talking about, you know? So very quickly we realized how we think about business and all that doesn't quite align. And for those of you that don't know, I'm an active investor now, and I invest in lots of different places, even outside of Axxess. So I understand how that works. And for entrepreneurs, especially in this audience, it's important that the capital really matches what you're trying to accomplish. And in our case, it just wasn't alignment in how we thought about it. But as we went along, we have partners, and it's important to give credit to, first of all my colleagues that we built Axxess. We have some of them in the audience here, my partners, all the work that we've done. Thank you, Ron and Stacy and others. And then even we brought on financial partners since then, you know. Vista Credit Partners. I don't know if Lindell with Vista is here. I want to give you a shout out because we've built a partnership with them. And it wasn't an equity type partnership. It was a credit partnership where they understood what we're trying to get done. We're going to be in it for the long haul. And Lindell wasn't telling me not to write more than a $25,000 check because that wasn't going to happen, you know. And that's how we got here.
Right. I like that backstory. Now, I want to have a little bit more backstory. Okay. Everyone loves to hear the origins, your origin story. Tell us not just about Axxess, how you founded it. Where were you before? What led you? And tell us what helped you get started.
Great question. So if you cannot already tell from my accent, I'm from Nigeria. I was born in Lagos, Nigeria. And if I was speaking to a Nigerian audience, I would tell them I was born in a place called Ajegunle. It's as poor as it gets in Lagos, Nigeria. That's where I was born. But my parents moved up in life very quickly. They were distributors for a company called Unilever. It's like Procter & Gamble type of company. And we made one important leap for the Dallas area context. It's like moving from a really poor part of town to Frisco in one leap. So my parents advanced socioeconomically very quickly. So I grew up in Nigeria. And it was a business family. So there was always business that we did, and it was all cash. So every day my parents would bring sacks of cash home. Oh, that wasn't meant to be funny. But it's true. They bring sacks of cash home, and they'll dump it in a room, and after school and soccer and homework, we'll go in that room and, you know, tally up the sales proceeds for the day, bundle it up. And it was my job the next morning on my way to school to stop over at the bank, make a deposit at the bank before going to school. So I've been around business my whole life. So rebates, discounts, all types of things is what I grew up around, is what we talked about at the dinner table.
You physically saw the dollar and the work that
yes,
was behind
and you know,
the dollar.
and the thing about it is, you know, so every day I counted money. So everywhere I go, I always have cash with me because I just love to touch it because I touched it my whole life growing up, you know. So fast forward, I finished high school. I was a pretty good student in high school, and it was always my dream to go to college in the U.S. And I came here to go to UT Dallas. I graduated from UT Dallas. I'd initially gone to Richland College and then UT Dallas, but that's some of my backstory. So I've come from an entrepreneurial background, and I try to apply a lot of that every day in what I do.
Yeah. You graduated in 2004, I remember, with a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. Am I correct?
Telecommunication engineering.
Telecommunication engineering.
Correction.
With some heavy computer science, I'm sure, courses.
You're right,
yes.
you're right.
But it was just 3 years after you graduated that you founded your company. So that is unicorn in itself. Not very many undergrads, just 3 years out of school, start a company. Tell us the journey there to actually founding Axxess.
You know, you're asking a great question. And the things that you're talking about are things that are normal in my world. So you're making me really think. You know, I don't really process things like that, you know? But, you know, I have, and this shocks, I've never written a resume in my life, you know? So growing up, I always knew I wanted to build a company. I always knew that. I knew I had the ability to do so. And I imagined that if I had gone into the corporate world, maybe all my talents wouldn't have been as recognized as I wanted them to be. So I wanted to create my own space and solve a problem that was big enough to be worth my while. So while I was at UTD, I was there at an incredible time. I see Professor Walter Voigt here, and we actually happened to be there at the same time. And you know, it was the dot-com boom, the Richardson era was the telecom capital of the world, and there was so much energy, there's so much technology, and I saw that. And I knew I wanted to do something using technology. And around that time, I have an aunt that was a director of nursing for a local home health agency. And I was a very broke college student because I was working to pay my way through school. And now here people say, well, I was broke too. I'm like, no, not my kind of broke. Mine was extra special. But okay. So I went to go see my aunt, and she was going to give me $100 or $200. And I got there, and I saw it was a local home health organization. I saw what they were doing, and I just started asking questions and became quickly their IT guy, and subsequently learned that the entire healthcare at home industry was underserved from a technology perspective. So, and I knew that, hey, healthcare expenditure is 20% of GDP. It hasn't changed much since then. So and it was the largest ticket item in all GDP expenses. So I figured if I can straddle healthcare and technology, there's quite an opportunity there. That's what I did, and I'm still here.
You're still here. And you've come a long way. Congratulations on that. What is behind every story, every origin? There is also a purpose behind. What has motivated your unique path? Besides you mentioned your background, but what motivates you to move your company forward in the future? What's your purpose?
Emily, I really appreciate that question, and I'm very direct about what my purpose in life is. I know what that is. My purpose in life is to serve others. That's my purpose in life. And I get up every day thinking about how I can leverage my platform, my talent, my resources, all that I am, to leave the world a better place for others. And I've been blessed to have worked with incredible people that have helped move that forward. And now I'm doing that around the world. I'm investing actively all over the world as well. And really the goal there is everywhere I show up, or everywhere any of my companies show up, or anywhere Axxess shows up, we'll leave the place better than we met it. So my purpose is to serve others.
Great. So I'm going to shift the conversation now to future goals. How do you mentioned earlier, you've always known Axxess will be a billion-dollar company. Could you give us insight into what you're doing to build such company?
Excellent. You know, before I answer that question directly, I think I should add a why I know it'll be and really what drives everything that we do. You heard me say that our purpose is to serve others. And, you know, I tell people all the time, more margin, more mission. The more resources we can accumulate, the more good we can do in the world. That's how I fundamentally think about it. And, you know, as we're thinking about our business going forward. There are lots and lots of opportunities, and really what helps us think through that is we have something called the Axxess way. It's our culture. That's our secret sauce, actually. And for those of you that have time, go visit our website or Google the Axxess way and go read about that. And it's really our commitment to our people, first and foremost, our commitment to our clients, our commitment to our partners, our commitment to the community. It's essentially a stakeholder model. And you heard me say when Axxess shows up, things get better. And the future of healthcare is in the home. The healthcare industry is still underserved in so many different ways. And we've had a lot of time to stitch together healthcare delivery infrastructure that's unrivaled in the world, just end to end. All the medical records, all the back office operations, just how things get delivered. And we've been at this for a long time. So in a lot of ways, we're just getting started. We have incredible people in our organization. We have incredible partners. There's quite an opportunity in front of us. And candidly, I am more excited today about where Axxess is headed than when we started. So we're just getting started. So what do I see in our future? Tens of billions of dollars. No doubt about that. But the goal is not just for money for its own sake, is to make sure more margin, more mission. That's how I think about it.
Nice. So I'm going to assume you're going to keep the headquarters in Dallas, and to meet your mission, to accomplish your mission, you're going to need to draw on a lot of talent. So earlier we heard Mr. Steve Wynn mention that there's a lack of talent here. What are your thoughts on talent, in particular Dallas?
Great question. We approach that rather differently. We've coined the word growth into an acronym at Axxess. And I'll tell you what each letter stands for. G is for giving back. R is for building relationships. O is for an ownership mindset. W is for winning mentality. T is for teamwork. And H is for hustle, hunger. Nice. And the reason I say that is, as we keep growing our business in the Dallas area, we're simply not trying to get all the best talent to grow our business. We're making investments to strengthen our pipeline for long-term growth. And some of you in the audience know I'm very heavily involved at UTD. In fact, I'm co-chairing the capital campaign to raise almost $1 billion for the school. So I'm taking checks, just so you all know that.
Thank you.
So there is talent to do what we need to do here. And then we're playing the long game and investing in the ecosystem to strengthen that, to help our organization grow and help others as well. In fact, an Axxess alum, I met her, Christy, I met her earlier. She founded IUGO, IOOGO. So we've had people from Axxess go out and go build their own companies too, and they're finding the talent here to do so. So I think the talent exists to help grow our company and lots of other companies. But what I'm challenging everyone to do is, you can't just come and take from that ecosystem. You got to make investments to strengthen that ecosystem, connect with it, be here, Venture Dallas and lots of other places to make sure things work. So I am confident that as you partner with others and make investments in our community, we'll keep growing the talent to support the growth and success of companies like Axxess and others. So there'll be several more unicorns here. And it's very uncomfortable for me to say things like that. In fact, when I was told I was going to speak here, and they said, hey, don't have a fireside chat with a unicorn, I said, hell no, I'm not doing that. That's just not who I am. But then our CFO talked me into it and said, let's tell that story. And the reason why I'm telling the story, again, is to help strengthen the ecosystem. I want to see a lot more companies like Axxess grow out of here. I want to let entrepreneurs know that you can do it. Well, you've got to be a glutton for punishment too, but you can do it, and there's success that's happening here, and there are not a lot of people that look like me that have built companies. I think it's important to say that. And I want to let every young black kid there, or every young woman, or every young minority kid, or any kid for that matter, know that in this society, in this community especially, there are people that can support you, that will believe in what you're doing, and that will lean in and give you a hand to help you move things along. And we should be celebrating several more unicorns going forward. And it'll happen in this community.
So what are some things top of mind as you're helping the ecosystem grow? What are some hurdles that might concern you going forward?
That's a great question. I think events like this, we should do them more often. I think one of the challenges we have in the Dallas metropolitan area is it's so spread out. So there are many, there are innovation huddles all over the place. So there are not as many sometimes connections. There's no density that happens, and I think that could be a challenge. But I think we can leverage that and coordinate all that work still, even given all our spread out throughout the metropolitan area. I think just having more connections and more interactions is one. I know Dwayne talks about the need for more capital, and I think success begets success, as we're telling stories like ours at Axxess and telling stories of successful exits, and then having successful entrepreneurs reach back and give back to help others' success. Essentially, it's just making investments in the ecosystem. That's really my answer to that. Let's keep making investments in the ecosystem. It's big companies, small companies, the universities getting involved, research alliance among universities and industry, things like that will help. And then being committed to that for the long haul. We can't do it in fits and stops. We have to commit to that for the long haul and keep moving that agenda forward.
Yeah. And support organizations like Venture Dallas and participate. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. So I understand we have a third of our attendees here are actual entrepreneurs. So I thought I'd have the last few minutes you just giving some advice, one or two things that you think are important on their journeys that you've learned or have experienced.
Being an entrepreneur is hard. It's the single hardest thing I've ever done in my life. But I wouldn't do it any different because I've learned a lot of things. And I think it's important that entrepreneurs know that it's a long journey, it's a long road. And part of success is, there's a word that a friend of mine uses, it's I don't know if it's an English word, it's stick-to-itivity. Stick-to-itivity, just stick to it. Just commit to it and just keep plugging along. Just grit, commitment, don't give up. That's really what it takes. And being an entrepreneur is glamorized, and you're on the covers of all kinds of magazines and all that. But remember, if my statistics is correct, most fail. I think out of every 100, 99 don't make it. But that one guy gets on the cover, and everyone wants to do that. It's hard work, and just get up every day and work hard, and then share your story. You cannot do it alone. Entrepreneurs are typically very smart people, very intelligent people, and there's sometimes a tendency to want to solve problems alone. I don't do that alone. What I do by default is, if there's anything I'm trying to solve, I always broadcast it immediately. I tell my friends, I tell my colleagues at work, I've got this issue, I don't know how to solve it, what do you think? So really, I'm not as smart as people think I am, I just happen to solve all the problems and I go execute it. And so I think it's work hard, and you don't need to be a superhero. Share the challenges with as many people as possible, and remember, folks want to help you, and accept that help, and be open to accepting that help.
Yeah. What can you say about failure? We know that the journey to entrepreneurship is rife with fits and stops, as you said, some failure points. How can you advise entrepreneurs to face them?
Embrace it. You've got to fail. In fact, the very first rollout of our technology platform, I remember we went out to this client, where our first client, we got there and we're trying to get things to work, and we're very excited, and it didn't work. And while we're struggling with it during the day, the lady was a nice lady. She ordered pizza for us to eat, and I just couldn't eat the pizza because I was so embarrassed that the software's not working and she's offering me lunch, So we're at it all day. It still didn't work. And then, we left her office, of course, and went back and worked on it all night to get the technology platform to work. And then the next day we called the lady and said, hey, we've got this figured out now. Can we come back? She said, John, you're a great guy. I love you, but I don't ever want to see you again. I don't want to deal with that. True story. True story. But of course, so our initial coming out of the gates, it was failure. Our very first step was failure. And there have been several other ones. I'll tell you another important one that happened a few years ago. The healthcare industry is regulated. And there were some regulatory updates that we needed to make to our technology platform, and typically they'll go into effect January 1st. And we thought we'd done all we could before the rollout. Come January 1st, and for January, February, March, our software just wasn't where it needed to be. And we struggled for months, lost clients, people complained about it, but we learned from it. And then subsequently, there have been many rollouts since then, and we make sure, for instance, there's a rollout in come 2023, we've been ready for that since March. Get it right, test it, and then even be a thought leader in helping the industry understand what the regulatory changes are, how a technology platform can help with that. So our story is all kinds of failures, and for entrepreneurs in the house, failure is part of the process. Embrace it, learn from it, and don't make the same mistakes twice.
Right. Okay, so I think we're out of time, or we get 26 minutes that's frozen right there, or 26 seconds. Well, I'm going to just close off here and just say, thank you for all the good that you do for the ecosystem, for the community, and wish you all the best on your continued journey.
Thank you,
Yes.
Emily. This has been fun.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.